Yes, it's streaming.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are almost on. Mr. Orchun, can we start our webinar?
My screen says we are already on.
Yes, we are
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
on.
Yes, mine too.
All right. So, welcome, directors, managers, teachers, project managers, instructors from all over Europe. I apologize for those who were waiting an extra hour. There was a little bit confusion about the Central European time. Tonight, as part of a great European team of teachers who I am really honored to host, and they're my friends. There's a fine selection of educators who will be sharing Europe's response on education during COVID-19 pandemic. I have to tell you though, when I thought about this meeting, I knew your response was going to be very fast to me, and it really did. And many others who wouldn't join us today, they also send me emails with information what is going on in their countries. So I would like to welcome them to our meeting tonight. I am sure they are all watching us throughout Europe. And especially Mr. Ulf, who joined us before our meeting, the director of European Schoolnet. It was really nice to see him and hear his words. So tonight we are going to be 10 countries from Europe, including Turkey, Netherlands, France, Germany, Italy, Romania, Sweden, Norway, Belgium, and Slovenia are here tonight, teachers, educators from these countries. And we are going to discuss as teachers around Europe how we responded to the pandemic and what's the social and educational effects of the pandemic on our societies. And I also want to talk about distance learning, the future of education, and when the schools start, how are we going to welcome students and teachers back to schools? And we have so many more questions. For those who are watching us through our YouTube channel, you may be able to ask your questions through the comments. And if we have time, I would like to share those questions with our guests tonight. I would like to start with my guests, and I prepared some questions for them. Carl from England, I would like to start with you. Let me introduce you a little bit. Carl is a leading educator, academic researcher, and innovator and project manager in England. He is the president of the European Geographers Association for more than 20 years. It has been a great job since I know him. He was doing this, and it's a great work, really. So, Carl, would you please tell us what's going on in England right now? How are you guys coping with it? What's the government's response? How is education going? And are the schools open, or when are they planning to open the schools? And then I would like you to tell us if we were ready to use these tools, distance learning tools, as European teachers, and how fast is it going, and what does the teacher need to do dealing with this pandemic to reach their students?
Wow, all of those questions. Hello, everybody.
You got 6 minutes, my friend.
6 minutes.
How long have you got?
Okay.
First of all, the UK is right in the middle of the pandemic. It's said this week that we just passed the peak. We have more than 28,000 deaths so far. And schools have been closed for 6 weeks, I think. Not all schools, because the children of key workers, the hospital staff, the emergency staff are all in school, so that their parents can go to work. But although this was a good idea originally, the actual numbers of children in the schools is very, very small. Most of the people have found alternative solutions to look after the children. There is no prospect of UK schools opening as yet. The question was asked this evening about 1 hour ago we have a ministerial briefing every evening, and the question was asked, and there is no prospect of the schools opening at all at the moment. In terms of online education, schools are supposed to provide support and lessons for the pupils. And very interestingly, an online academy has been developed by the national government with lessons for all ages and all subjects, just like Spring Day was some time ago, lessons for children created by teachers for teachers to use with their classes. And this is a great opportunity. I don't know how many teachers actually use these. A lot of teachers are online anyway these days, and most young people have access online. I say most, not all. The danger is that some kids get left behind. And I think the government at the moment is trying to develop schemes where modems and tablets and so on are being lent out to the most disadvantaged, the most remote, the most difficult to reach families so that their children can go online. For me, the perspective is that I think education will never be the same. I think school will never be the same. I think it's a great opportunity right now for those of us who have worked in online education to stand up and say, we have the capacity, the tools are there, if the willingness is there amongst the teachers to be able to do this. The teachers at the moment have to do this, and from my perspective, I think there are many lessons that hopefully will be learned to suggest that online education can be a great addition to face-to-face learning. I mean, we have the ability through the cloud for 24/7 learning. And so to access information when you want and how you want, but also the ability to personalize the way learning takes place. So from my perspective, I think it's an incredible opportunity that we have as advocates, as we all were, for working at a distance, working online, and the use of technologies. And it's a great opportunity that education needs to grasp. And I hope governments in particular will grasp this, so that initiatives like European SchoolNet, Spring Day, and all the projects that most of us have been involved in over the years are not wasted. The final challenge, the final thing I want to say is probably if we could somehow go back and take what we've learned from all of this, you know, what are the major lessons that we have, and somehow pass those on to the next wave of people who will come along and take the learning forward. From my perspective, that's what keeps me in education. I'm still excited by the opportunities it offers. I'm not sure if I answered all the questions.
I will get back with you. No worries. This is just a warm up right now. So thank you very much for your answers, and I'll get back with you soon. And now I would like to go to San Vito, Italy. My friend Francesco is joining us. Francesco, you've been a physics teacher, and you have spent some of your time in higher education in Germany, I believe, in Munich.
Yes.
And I would like to ask you, what is the school's role during this pandemic, and what to expect when schools are open? Like, if you can give us your opinions about this, that would be great.
Yes, thank you for the question. The role of the school, in my opinion, educational institution, but even teachers should try to make students live in a comfort zone during this uncomfortable period, because they are in Italy, they are locked in their houses. And so for sure, we have to guarantee the learning process. But I think that more importantly, we should try to be a way through which boys and girls keep in relation with each other, and with some process that they recognize as useful for the future. I think that schools and through teachers should try to show students that schools activities are part of a learning process for their success in life, not just an obstacle for their daily activities, as sometimes happens. So experiences this tragedy can be the opportunity for students to switch from obligation to responsibility, especially for high school students as are mine. And then, sorry, you asked me even
Oh, you forget
what
the
I
question
expect.
already. Okay.
Oh,
No,
no,
I also asked, like,
sorry.
what should we expect when schools are open?
Oh, okay,
Is
thank you.
there
So,
a time period that the
yes,
government
we
is
should.
planning to open the schools in
Okay,
Italy?
we are not already sure, but we hope to open in September with the new school year. And I think that it will be difficult time for students and kids in general to return to normality.
Mhm.
I think it will be difficult to enter again in relationship with peers and teachers, but in my opinion, at that time, it will be no matter of methodology. So it will not be matter of distance learning, Web 2.0, or face-to-face learning, but I think it will be matter of build up again a net of relations and confidence that could be hidden behind a screen by now. Because at this time we are all over Italy making distance learning.
Mhm. What tools are you guys using in Italy for learning process?
Okay, it really depends on the situation, because it is true that in Italy we already have for a few years a digital plan for schools, but our government gave freedom to the schools to choose instruments and methodologies. So it really depends on the schools. In our school, we started just from the end of February, using virtual classrooms and mainly live streaming lessons or recorded video lessons, synchronous and asynchronous assessments, group activities. So in particular, we use the G Suite application, but then this is the tool that we use. But then we try. I think we are trying to use different methodologies, so live videos and recorded videos and different things.
So you say learning is changing, educating is changing, and talking about distance learning, I would like to go to France now, my dear Bridget, and let me introduce you for a little bit, and then I've got some questions for you. For a very long period of time, you've been working with many national ministries of education at European Schoolnet. So you've been involved in university right now, and you're at Montpellier University of Excellence, right? Oh, that's the project also. And you are working with 16 different faculties at the moment. So do we call this distance learning, or what we are going through right now is emergency learning period or emergency learning time? How would you differentiate the two between? And what's going on in France, if you can give us a little brief?
Generally speaking, it was a very brutal switch from face-to-face in schools to distance learning from one day to the other. And suddenly everybody had to stay at home. And it basically uncovered over the whole country things we did not see before or we did not want to see before. And then suddenly we started communicating with Zoom, Teams, blue button or whatever you like. We do them all in one day sometimes. And then you start seeing the houses of the kids, and they are locked in. And some are with the parents, they eat well, some are on their own, and they are on video games all the time. And you saw the reality of those students you see normally. So that was quite brutal. And people started looking for ways to teach. What was your question, Tolga? I'm like the Italian friend. I got involved in what I said and I forget the question.
No problem. I was asking about this learning process. Do we call this emergency learning process, or is this really distance learning?
It's complex. It's not so simple. I agree with Carl. I think this is a great opportunity, a huge opportunity. And then you have, it's the same as before, but it's e-learning. So the teachers who were traditional, where they put all their stuff in Moodle, nice and tidy. The teachers who are more into human-centered pedagogical approaches, and they started looking for ways to teach at a distance, keeping this kind of human touch. So you started investigating. So I would not call it the emergency. The emergency was about not getting sick and protecting our families. That was the emergency. Then to do that, we had to stay at home. So as we were at home, we started looking for, okay, how do we work now? And I think it's more like this. But now I think the paradigm is going to be synchronous, asynchronous, distance, face-to-face. And then the next thing is when we can get face-to-face again, we have to keep distances.
Right.
So it's
right.
completely crazy. Mm-hmm. So we are closer at a distance that we may be when we are back to face-to-face situation.
That's right. Yes.
And we need to think a lot about this. This is insane. And I think this is at the core of the issue. And it will be the same as usual. The creative ones will find ways to fly, and the less creative ones will fly lower. It's as usual.
No.
I don't know if I answered your question.
So what do you think the future of being a student is? After all, you know.
I work on that. I work on imagining the future with the students.
Or should
they are fed up with doing what they always want to stay at home and play games all the time. One of the platforms I use with one group is Discord. It's a gamers thing. So now I'm on Discord, and they have all those fancy avatars and everything. But so now they get too much of what they usually do hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's almost like they want to get back to straight stuff.
So it's fun to be a student right now, you say? Huh?
They want to go back to...
So, I will get back with you soon. And now I want to go to Romania. Gina is with us. As far as I know, she's from Suceava. Please correct me.
Suceava.
Suceava.
That's the right pronunciation, yeah.
Thank you very much. So we learn at the same time, dear Gina. As far as we know that your area is the very badly hit area in Romania.
Yes, maybe the worst place to be in Romania right now.
So
the whole city is in quarantine, not just some people here. The whole city. We cannot leave the city. We're staying here.
So, like, what do you think? How is it going to be going back to normal life, going back to school? Like,
First of all, we are not going back to school this year. That's
Mhm.
true. We are going to start maybe, I think, in September.
mhm.
But on the other hand, there are some exams that pupils have to
Take.
go through.
Take.
Yeah, there
Mhm.
is the baccalaureate examination, for example,
Mhm.
and this poses a problem because you have to make some, I don't know, some
Check.
new norms in
Mhm,
which
mhm,
this kind of exam can take place.
mhm.
Uh,
When do they usually do the exam, Gina?
in the time,
Yes,
Yeah. The period, yes.
yes, it's in June.
June.
And in 2 weeks' time, we are supposed to finish quarantine if everything goes okay. But it's not sure. It depends very much on how many cases appear daily. So we don't know. But maybe this is the plan, but you know that very well that plan can be, you know,
Mhm.
you
Is
plan
there?
something, but
Mhm.
fate has something else to say.
Is there any action plan for those for physically and mentally before the schools open? Is there going to be any sort of action taken for the students and parents and teachers?
I don't know of anything like this. All I know is that right now pupils resent being at home. They would like to go back to school. Most of them
Mhm.
really do.
Mm.
It's quite surprising, but most of them really do want to go back to school and return to face to face. Here we didn't have any kind of plan for this. We are not in school, but we haven't been in school since March the 12th or March 11th.
13, yes, yes.
And for us.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the problem is that at the beginning, everybody saw that period as a sort of vacation. I think this was also true for the teachers. But as the time went by, their attitude, both of the teachers and the children changed. When I contacted them, they were so glad to be hearing from a teacher like, well, I didn't thought it possible before.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah,
So
we're trying.
one way or another, we as teachers, we should definitely keep in touch with our students, no
Yes,
matter what, right?
Yeah,
that's
So
true.
that's
And
it.
you have
that's
some
very
very
important.
pleasant surprises by keeping in touch to them. I heard somebody mentioning this before. You know, when you keep in touch in a more unusual way, and you are sometimes get to some other kind of approach to the child, and you see a side of the child that you were never aware of before.
Mhm.
Like, for example, I discovered people who read books that I am amazed they do that read those books, the books of, I don't know, high content. I don't know how to mention them, and their preoccupations and so on. So it was nice for a, one of the assignments I gave them at a certain point was to film themselves analyzing a proverb. The proverb being every cloud has a silver lining.
Mhm.
So
That's the
this was the silver lining of.
very true. That's the lesson we all learned from this pandemic, actually. So there's also this emotional side to the whole thing. That's maybe our lives are going to change because of this. I was actually when we talk about Romania, two things came to my mind. One is my visit to the monks in Romania and in Germany, actually. And I was just thinking about it today, saying like, if we are trying to catch things, is this going so fast? Do we need to do we need to do everything all at once? Do we need to be in rush with life? So do we need to take it a little bit slowly? So this is the maybe dilemma Bridget was also talking about. As teachers, we also have this role of keeping the society together, because the joy of the society starts with children, and children are going through some really rough times right now, and they need a hand. So one of the worst things happening around the world right now is many of these children are at home with these people, with all sorts of bad backgrounds, and you kept them at the same apartment or in the same house together, and they do also live this unfortunate life, and you want to help them and you want to grab them out of that environment. So this is also a very, very important. That's why I want to talk about the preparation of having these children back at school. This is all over the world. Right now, as far as I know, 1.8 billion students are at home, and there are so many different stories about them. Well, thank you very much, Gina. I wanna go to Spain. Rene, can you hear me?
Hear you, yes.
Hi, and you are an owner of a language school, and you do lots of international projects and field trips, exchanges. And what's happening right now, and what's going to happen in the near future? Do you guys have any plans for that?
I think like everywhere on the 12th of March, it was already at the beginning of the week, the 9th, everything seemed to be concentrated in Italy. But in 1 week or in 4 days, everything changed completely. I remember talking on Wednesday, I think it was the 11th, that we just keep continuing teaching, and then on the Friday we closed. So it all went very, very quickly. One of the things we notice here is the Spanish learning. People come here to Spain not only to learn Spanish, but for the experience. And that is something that's an important thing why people come to our school. The combination of things. What at least we notice now, we did do before, we did do some online teaching, but because we were forced now to at least to offer alternatives, we had to switch completely to online. And it's surprisingly to see how creative everybody becomes in teaching in a creative and attractive way, because obviously a class has to be fun, and at school in a classroom, it sometimes is easier to do that than online. But and I think we also surprise the students because although we do offer online classes before, and the majority didn't want to do that because of the idea of that it wasn't fun, or it was boring, or it was not real. And now everybody finds out that it is working. Not necessarily for the rest of our lives. I don't think that's the idea, but at least for a short-term alternative now. And on the longer term, as a very good alternative, a backup plan next to the normal, if I can say it like that, the normal teaching. I think we're learning a lot, not only us as a school, as teachers, but also the students are a bit surprised.
Thank you very much. And what do you think in the near future about these exchanges between countries? Will we be able to get back to normal on that soon? What do you say?
Well, define soon.
Define soon.
Careful, because
right.
There are plans, at least in Spain, they're talking about it. It's not official yet, but at least to keep the borders closed until October. which basically means for us that exchanges, for example, before that, in the summer, usually we don't have any exchanges anyway because the schools are on summer leave. But in September, October, we were expecting our first groups, and we're not sure. First of all, we're not sure if they're allowed to come from the Spanish side. But obviously, we don't know what all the different countries will be deciding with their traveling. Since the European Commission also was talking about maybe everybody should stay home this summer. And
Yeah, that will be fun. Yeah.
And we're depending a lot on that. If students can't come, then obviously, or individual students or schools who are visiting us, then obviously that is a problem for us, and a problem we cannot only solve by offering online classes. So that is something. We're prepared for the new groups who are coming in September, October, but I seriously doubt if, first of all, they can come, and if their schools or their countries will let them come. I don't think that in 2020 a lot will happen, because everybody wants to see what will be going on. And everybody will be looking at the first country. I think Austria is one of the first countries, and up north, who are opening up more and more. And I think everybody is watching what will happen there.
Thank you very much. Well, we just recently postponed one of our student exchanges with Germany, Stadtlohn. I would like to connect to Wolfgang. Wolfgang, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Well, Germany has taken some really very strong measures too. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on in Germany, and then I will ask some more questions.
Okay. So as for all of us, school ended, I think, on the 13th of March for us, which was bad because then the social distance guidelines took place, and my birthday was on the 14th. It was not fun, but
happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you very much. You're like the fifth one too. But no, seriously, after that, starting I think in February, the beginning of February, I think the first case we had in end of January already. Like people coming back from ski vacations and one carnival party, and right after that, cities and like smaller districts had quarantine guidelines and got everybody who was infected into quarantine, and then afterwards, of course, testing. Testing took a lot of time, I think, in Germany. Now we have the testing ability. The testing ability is not even completely used. I think we can have 900,000 tests per week, and we only use 400,000. Why, I don't know. But that was right at the beginning. Schools closed. We had the distance learning for 3 weeks, and then the Easter vacation kicked in. I can only second the idea of, first of all, it was a vacation idea of in the heads of teachers and parents and of course students as well. But that soon changed, because e-learning and homeschooling is something else than just staying at home and doing some tasks here and there. Then what Germany did was, first of all, getting enough hospital beds. My brother is working for the Association of the Hospitals in North Rhine-Westphalia, and they emptied every bed that could be emptied for surgeries that were planned and stuff, in order to have enough beds for COVID patients and enough ventilators. That was another thing which cost millions and millions and billions of euros. But that was something just to be sorted, and if if it hit the fan. And now we have about, I think, 6,700 deaths in Germany. 160,000 people were detected with COVID, and I think 120,000 who are better now, and that I think for us is a good sign. And coming to one thing, the opening of schools started already in Germany. In North Rhine-Westphalia, we start our A levels in, I think, 2 weeks, and the A level students are already at school for, or have been at school for now 2 weeks, and teachers face the students under very different, in a very different scenario, of course, with masks, disinfectant everywhere, and 2 meters distant between the tables, of the desks, of course. There's no cooperative learning taking place when they're at school. Everything is somehow like in a high security prison. That's something that bums me out every time I'm there. But of course, and
So,
dealing with those students is a,
can I ask, like, are you agreeing with the reopening of the schools, or do you think they should have been they should waited a little bit more?
yeah.
Because it's what age group are kids at school right now?
So it's for us, it's only the A level students.
A levels. Has there been any sort of problems in the last 2 weeks after the schools started?
No, they have been very disciplined, as far as I can say it. But now the next week will be, primary schools are supposed to open, but not for everybody at the same time, obviously. And our school, which is a grammar school, is opening up for a couple of students again. But the A-level students are gone now. They're taking their exams. So we're taking in the next ones, and then let's see where we get. I'm afraid of a second wave of the pandemic in Germany, but that's my personal take on it. I think it's a little soon, but I'm happy if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so far, Germany is the only country, as I believe, as we speak until now, who opened the schools. And when do you guys go on summer vacation?
I think mid-June. Is that right, Andrea?
Yes, it is.
Mid-June. Okay, so there's about a month and a half.
Yeah.
Hopefully
6 weeks to go.
No problems will occur.
Yeah, the idea is, so our Ministry of Education says the idea is that every student is supposed to be, or the idea is that everybody sees the school again before the summer holiday. So that is
right.
pretty open.
Thank you.
Sure what happens.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. I'll be
Sorry,
back with you. And now I want to go to, let's see, wow, so many countries. Norway. Merete, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so let me introduce you very shortly. You have a beautiful school. We know you have a beautiful home already. So you are head of the department at Fagerdia Upper Secondary School on the West Coast. It's also a vocational school. And I want to ask you what's going on in Norway, and also how do you see the future of vocational schools? What kind of role did they play any role in this pandemic? Because in Turkey right now in our vocational schools, there's mask production, uniforms for doctors, and they really turn into a very useful schools at the moment. They actually brighten up. So, and how do you see the distance learning? Do you guys use distance learning tools in Norway? I would like to learn about those, please.
Okay, yes. Our school is both vocational and it's also general studies. Like most countries in Europe, Norway closed the schools on March 13th. We reopened kindergartens on April 20th. And on April 27th, schools were reopened for 1st to 4th grade primary school, and also the vocational students in their last year, because in the fall they have to start their apprenticeship, so they need to be back to do some of the practical work in the workshops. So they were back on the 27th. For the rest of the schools, there is no plan that we know of for now. I guess with this opening with kindergartens and the youngest kids and some of the vocational students, it is important that we kind of see how this works out. And it's also a matter of up where we live, public transportation, ferries and the buses, there is not enough room to open for everyone. But like Wolfgang said, our Minister of Education says that she wants every student to be back to see the school, to see their fellow students before the school year ends. As for exams, all exams, oral and written, are cancelled. So there will be no final exams for the Norwegian students. As for, of course, Norway is a small country, small population, and we are on a lucky side of this situation, with only a total of 210 deaths in the country altogether as for today. So it is a different situation when schools open in this country compared to so many other countries in Europe. When the schools closed down in March, I had a group of students on exchanges in Germany and one group in Denmark. And the big thing was to get them home before the borders closed. They were supposed to stay another week and a half when everything closed. So it was, and of course they had to go into quarantine when they got back. So this was also a challenge in this. As for distance learning, there is a lot of online activity. I think that starting to use all these online teaching tools really developed fast. We ask that the class teachers see their students at least once a week, which is very important to just to meet everyone, to know what is going on.
Merit, we just lost your voice. I think the microphone is turned off. Mm-hmm. Can you turn on your?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay,
it's back.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the microphone is back. Yeah. But we see that a lot of the students, like Gina said, they miss school, they miss their teachers, and of course they miss their fellow students. But an interesting effect of this is to see that not only do teachers have to use new techniques, but we also have to look for different ways of the students showing their competences, showing their knowledge. So this is also interesting, seeing that some students who were kind of the quiet one in the classroom now do have the advantage of showing on video or just on a one-to-one basis with their teachers what they can do. So for some students, of course, this is a nice way of getting to show what they know. So what were your other questions, Holger?
Oh, I have so many questions, but that will take forever. But I want to tell something. Well, tonight this meeting is going to take its place in history, I believe. because this is a very nice sharing of information and plans and thoughts. Carl is very active. He is also answering all the questions on YouTube right now. Thank you, Carl, for helping me on that. And I would also like to say all our prayers goes to those who lost their lives all around the world. And also our applauses goes to the healthcare workers. They have been doing an amazing job as far as we see on news and follow it on media. It's been great, and I wish them luck. I wish them the best. And also the teachers all around the world, they have been very strong and reacted really from their heart. So I wanna congratulate them too, as teachers and managers all over the world. And let's go to Slovenia. And Janja is with us from Slovenia. She's a project manager and a teacher trainer, and she's using distance learning materials for over a decade now, maybe. Am I right, Janja? So you've been helping. I know that you've been really very busy and helping teachers with getting used to these new technologies. I would like to know if how was the reaction? Like, were the students more prepared for this than the teachers? How did the teachers develop themselves? Could you tell us the situation in Slovenia and answer my questions, please?
Yes, hello everybody. It is like this, yeah. I've been helping teachers in this very, very stressful situation. Also, I teach mathematics also at school, but I have all the materials for distance learning. I'm trying to do this for years now, but the big challenge was actually to work with the teachers, because after this 13th of March happened something very, very special. Yeah, just imagine they return home and they suddenly become alone with all the stuff. And they start questioning, because first they thought that they will come back to school in 2 weeks. And when you think that you will come back in 2 weeks, maybe you are not so prepared to or eager to do the new stuff. But then if you finally figure out that we won't be going back in 2 weeks, so the thing starts happening. And I know that the teachers, they were prepared to do new stuff. I can say that. And I am very, thankful and grateful for this opportunity to be with them and to help them, because I saw, on this 4 weeks, first or 5 weeks, I saw all the transformation that came out of it. And now they are independent mostly in my school, I can say that, and they can be selective in the materials also. But, we know all the stuff that during our research earlier, they just come up with the same things, So that are the materials are good quality? Are I able to do and research a new material and all the things? Yeah. And beside that, I can also say that, there are difference in the schools in Slovenia, because if the school was lucky to have a kind of teacher in the school that is a training teacher, so it means that pass in some special education from the Ministry of Education and other institutions that we have in Slovenia, and that was in the program that they used to be very good, but somehow in the few years, let's say 3 years ago, we stopped doing that. And if that would be continuing, I would say that nowadays we would have less problems with going into the e-learning and e-education. Yeah, and with the students, it's like this. If the students actually had the teachers that they were skilled in using technology, there was no problem. There is no problem with them. They are very quick. You can say everything and they are quick in a moment. So But you can see also, you can see when you work with the students that if they have teachers that they are good in technology, they work with you very nice and very quickly. If not, you have to teach them some basics. The basics that the teacher should be teaching, their students in the classroom and with the work with them. So most of that is like this, that I must say that just one question I'll give you, just ask you, who else actually was able to adapt in 2 weeks from 0 e-learning to 100% of e-learning? Teachers. Only teachers. Just imagine. So it means they were practically not doing face-to-face, and in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks period, they become really good in that. So they just, they enjoy, I think that they enjoy in learning new things and discovering the things, and you can see that they are very innovative. So I must say really, that they are good. That's my opinion.
So, who is not keeping up with this is gonna left behind? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. I'm definitely, it is like this. Yeah. And also, the students, they realize that actually they have to be a good in technology. That's first. And they have to help the teachers. If they are not, the teachers are not good, let's say, the students, they will help them. And the teachers, they figure out, that this is not the only one-time occasion, so that is going to happen. It will happen in the future. Again, something else, maybe not that kind of virus, but it's going to happen, something. They have to be prepared. They have to be prepared. But the next time they will understand that e-learning, it is important, and they have to learn about it. And then they have, it has to be a part of their teaching. Even it is only a blending type of teaching, but it has to be a part of their teaching. Face-to-face, it's not enough. It's not enough. And you know that e-learning starts already with 80% of material working online.
Do you think this is the same with K-12 students?
Yeah, it is the K-12. They have to do that. And I mean, because with them it's like this. They have to have the learning material. Let's say you're putting in let's say like a Moodle environment. They just do and they study. But with those students, it's like this. They need the consultation, so they need to be to see you. Like we are now on the Zoom, so the Zoom meeting for them, it's very important. So they have to meet with you, and they have to ask. So it's not only the static material or only working with the computer, because the K-12 students need to be in a contact with the teacher. And they said to me that what they miss is a contact with the teacher, if they miss anything. Yeah. And for
I really think that's very important to be together with the students in the classroom. After a while, like for even adults, 30 minutes, 1 hour later, this whole thing becomes like a dream. It's really hard for a teacher to do a 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour class on Zoom or any kind of Web2 tool. So, and this needs lots of preparation too. Like most of the teachers are maybe working much more harder than what they did before. So this new thing is going to take some time to get over, and maybe it's much better to use this as a support tool to our regular teaching methods at school. Thank you very much for your shares and thoughts. I want to go to Sweden now. I am sure Barbara is very happy that she retired 2 years ago.
Yes, I am.
So, but I really wanted you to join to our meeting tonight, and I would like to know what's going on in Sweden. And I know you still have a connection with your friends who are working at schools as teachers. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in Sweden?
Yes, and as you all know, that Sweden has another approach to this virus. So I will start. In Sweden, we have they have divided the school with primary, pre-primary, primary, lower secondary has one thing, and higher secondary and the university, they are all in digital education. But the other, the primary and the lower secondary, up to 16 years of age, they are supposed to be in school, and the teacher are supposed to be in school all the time. We have never stopped them. And of course, both parents and teachers are afraid of the virus. But the teachers, they can't stay at home. They must be in school. And some of the parents, they take their children away from the school because they are afraid. So that lots and lots of teachers in the primary and the lower secondary are having at least 2 works. They're teaching in school, and they are supposed to help children at home, digital or sending home homework, and and there are loads and loads and loads of work, and the teachers are very tired. And only for 1 week ago, the government went out in the media and told the public that the teacher were not supposed to do this double work, but it depends on the headmasters in the school if you are supposed to do that. And the government has also used the media to tell all the parents that we have a law in Sweden that they must send children to school if they're not ill in any way. But
Barbara, how many students are we talking about in altogether in Sweden?
I don't know, but it's all. This is up to 60 years of age everywhere in Sweden. So, but I talked to a class teacher for there were 12 years old children, and all her children was in school and were in school. All the parents sent them to school, so there were no problem for her. She had colleagues who had 50% at home and 50% in school. So that's a problem here in Sweden, because parents do what they want. so to speak. Yeah, but
I don't think that's only in Sweden. So we can't count all our countries in that. So
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but a positive effect, I must say, is for the children who are living in families that do not like school so much. The children who have special needs, and children who lives in families with lots of troubles, they have this school, this class to go to every day. So I think that's the positive thing. And there is not many teachers who have got the virus. I'm amazed. So there is some researchers here, but they are not all of them, say that children are not carrying the virus as fast as the adults. I don't know. But the higher secondary and the university, they have closed, everyone. And they have only digital education in different programs. But now there's a lot of talk about how to do the assessments for the year between higher secondary and university, and the exams, even from the university classes. How do you do the exams?
Okay, we got babies crying and bells ringing. What's going in Europe, people?
It's for the caring people. Yes, the same here.
That's the bell for the baby. So who has a baby?
So I think this bell is for the nurses and doctors, because people are clapping their hands in my street as well.
Okay.
It's every night
Yeah,
here.
we do a big
The same here.
clap
Nice,
for
8 o'clock.
we join Belgium. That's a lovely moment.
Thank you.
We salute them. We salute them.
Thank you.
Well, Barbara, thank you for your videos.
I must say one.
Please. No rush. I'm listening.
Can I continue?
Yes,
Olga?
please.
Because the positive effect from the higher secondary is that there have been many teachers telling the media that they have more students attending their education when they have digital education, when the students can be at home. I don't know if it's everywhere, but
this is a very important point. I was gonna get back with you later, and I am going to ask you, as you are a very experienced teacher, spent years on this subject. I am going to ask you what a teacher should do, but I am going to leave it later. So right now, I wanna go to which country we haven't been yet. Belgium. Since we heard the bells from Belgium, Trey is with us, and I kept you waiting for a little bit. Thank you for waiting, Trey. Would you let me see my questions for you? See, there you go. I find them. So. You've been teaching since 1983. You are a very experienced teacher too, and you've been teaching 16 and over kids. So I want to know their reaction to this pandemic, and if you guys are following any sort of distance learning materials using any sort of web technologies, and also I would like to know. How are we going to welcome students back to school, and the physical and mental preparations being made for them?
Yeah, I must say I recognize lots of things that have been said already from all our colleagues here. We are in lockdown from the 13th of March as well. In the first 3 weeks, our Board of Education told us not to teach new topics, but just to rehearse things. Then there were Easter holidays. I must say in these 3 weeks, I am at a vocational school. To give you an example, I am the class teacher of 22 pupils from 17 on. And I only reached 12 pupils as far as Easter holidays. Then there were Easter holidays for 2 weeks, and then we restarted last week on Monday. From Monday on, we teach new stuff using all digital tools. We mainly use Smart School as a platform, and then Microsoft Outlook and email. And I must say that the teachers can choose what they prefer. But I have the impression that it works, of course, with loads of work and loads of corrections and things like that, and digital meetings as well. Now we are 2 weeks further, and I must say that I see that my pupils get used to the system. They get week planning. Week per week, every Saturday. They can work on it whenever they want, but they have to keep and to stick to deadlines. And every teacher can put a deadline in the week scheme. But from Saturday on, the teacher cannot change the week scheme for the upcoming week. And that's a good thing, because in the first 3 weeks, there was a lot of chaos. And in that way, we lost a lot of time, and we also lost pupils. Now things are getting better. So there is more scheme, and the pupils in my vocational school have something to keep to stick to, and I like it. There is a mix of Skype lessons, Zoom lessons, things like that. And there are some tasks they have to make, let's say, in a Word document and to send to a teacher. So we have lots of things in balance right now. That's my impression. We are starting school. There is a pilot day on Friday the 15th coming up. In which we take only the sixth formers. Then we have the weekend to adjust things if there would be any problems. And then we start on the 18th, going on with lessons for the sixth formers. Normally, if things stay right with the virus, we can start on the 29th with the second and the fourth year, because in Belgium, in Flanders at least, we work in grades, which means that the second and the fourth year you have to skip grade, you have to do exams, and that's the reason why the Minister of Education advised to take in the second and the fourth formers from 29th of May on. We hope to start teaching up to the end of June, and in the first week of July, maybe to do deliberations, to talk about pupils and to give their final reports. That's the plan. I must say that from the fourth formers on, everyone has a personal laptop, which makes things easy.
Given by the government?
At school, and everyone has a laptop and the internet at home. So that is a big advantage, and they are used to working with it.
So 6 weeks has passed, and just recently the government decided to give these tools to the students and teachers too?
No. This was a decision my school made, let's say, 4 years ago.
Oh,
that
okay.
From the fourth year on,
okay.
No, there has been an intention and an gathering action as well to get more laptops for children. But I say the 10,000 that the Minister of Education had as an intention have never been reached. It's only 2,500 or something more. So that is a work in progress, but it can't be that fast. I wonder what the other thing.
The physically and mentally preparation of the students going back to school, but you shortly mentioned it. It's going to start with a small group of students, and then by the time they will be planning on
broadening. Yes, I must say there is one step in between, and that is that from next Monday, which is the 4th of May, so within 2 days, in my school at least, so 20 pupils which are from difficult family situations or very hard to reach, they can come to school, and every half a day the group can change, and there will always be present 4 teachers to help those pupils work on the week planning of that week, so that they get used to school stuff and pleased to hand in things as we propose to have a permanent evaluation. But that is the discussion that is going on in the French and the Flemish speaking part of my country these days, right away, about having exams. The French community, I think, has already decided not to do any exams at all in the end of June. In the Flemish part of the country, we have the free schools, which is mine, and we also have the schools from state, and they also decided not to give any final examinations. But for the free schools, there is no decision yet. So we can have permanent evaluation or we can go for exams. That is a big issue these days in politics as well.
Thank you, Tree, for your comments and sharing your information with us. Now we want to go to the Netherlands. Merite, you've been waiting for a while too. Merite is a great networker. And I would like to ask you what's the situation in the Netherlands, and how about the teachers in your network? What are their biggest problem? What are they facing up with? And I can also ask you the same question. How are we going to welcome teachers and students back to school?
Yes. Well, hello, Tolga. It's Marleen here from the Netherlands. First of all, it feels a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest. I would like to.
So I'm doing a good job, you say, huh?
Yeah, excellent. I'd like to give all participants.
Okay, that's good.
I'd give all the participants in all the countries 10 points.
10 points.
Awesome.
That's definitely new to us.
We give you 12.
Yeah, well, for the organizer, Tolga, 12 points, 12 points.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Then, of course, the Eurovision Song Contest doesn't take place this year, and it would take place in the Netherlands. So therefore, this remark. Otherwise, the Netherlands are preparing for the primary education to return to school the 6th of May.
Next week.
Yeah, that is next week, or the 13th of May, but the 6th of May, the teachers will be preparing, and the primary school teachers have a very difficult and challenging job. And also it is more important for the younger children to return to school, especially for the parents who need to do caretaking jobs. So their children are being taken care of. Whereas the secondary school children, they can take care of themselves better at home. They're more independent. And in the final exams, we rounded off exams for the A-level K-12 students in March, April. And then these results count because the final exam in May, that has been postponed. So nobody takes their exams, and the results are being decided on the basis of the school exams and not the national exams. The government decided not to have these. Otherwise, secondary school students now are scheduled to return to school the 1st of June. And we're not quite sure how to do it, but it's only going to be test weeks probably. So maybe having certain school years return to take the exam at school and then taking turns. And then starting again in September because nobody knows. But I do think that what I notice is that we were trying to integrate blended learning already in schools. And now it is a different balance in how to do this blended learning, because we already used all of those tools in our lessons, but to a more or higher or lower degree. So what I also think is the parallel interactions that usually take place in the classroom, so that you are talking to the whole group and that you have the group feeling, because it is really like a home situation. We belong to this group and we have this teacher. And then during a lesson, you communicate with 30 students at the same time and they communicate with each other. And that thing, it is the warm feeling of education. That thing we are now trying to also achieve via Microsoft Teams or Google Classrooms or Zoom. And then we're WhatsApping at the same time. And what we're also doing is using all of these interactive tools, but we're also doing the minimum that is necessary to pass the year. And then that is very good for differentiation methods. So for instance, whole task first. And
don't you think it's a little bit much though? I mean, dealing with all this electronics and programs and applications. And I mean, what is a teacher going to do? Like teach or, you know,
Yes.
answer all these questions coming from all sorts of technological applications?
No, the teacher does the minimum of the curriculum and then uses the rest either for individual dialogue with students or to give extra help. And also, I think we are using the strength of the tools. For instance, some of my students now are in an app group with American students and learning English that way, not from me, but from international exchange online. So for language teachers, that is also a different way of teaching. And then I monitor that, but I'm not doing that myself. So it's more like you are a coach. So there's a bit that you need to do, and the rest you're coaching. So I think that is the transition, really. And then we have lots of support from innovative networks like LEF, Leiden Educational Fieldwork, or Leidse Aanpak. And we're also working on international challenges like the Mayflower 400, Leiden 400 challenge.
Marlene, can I ask you something? Like this, we have been talking about for many years, over 15 years maybe, because we always said teachers' information passing or knowledge passing it to the student. But we were talking about this, a teacher should be the consultant and opening the way of education and learning to the student. But it has been 15 years since we talked about this. And now this pandemic, do you think it is going to make it happen? Do we have that in our hands?
I think that lots of it was in our hands already, and this is a great incentive for everybody to improve their knowledge or skills this way. And I don't think it will be the final answer for everybody all at once, but it is one small step. And so that is good. Thank you for asking, Tolga.
You're welcome. Thank you for answering. If you are done, I would like to go. See, I think we have finished the countries, so we go to the second round, and I want to start with San Vito. Georgia is there with us. Do you have any questions to ask to our guests, Georgia? I am out of questions.
Just ask me something.
Yeah, I'm just kidding with you. So, how did you take all this as a teacher? Did you use these tools before? Did you start using them? Was it easy for you? How did this whole month and a half went by for you?
Yes, I teach in a high school who were prepared for for distance learning, for distance teaching. And we closed the school more or less at the 23rd of February. And so we have a long experience in distance teaching. And yes, I used to work on some learning platforms before, but not so strongly as nowadays. And I have to say that students are very quick in using these new tools. And for example, in my school, we have, first of all, we start to contact our students immediately with emails or WhatsApp or other tools. And then we started to move to the G Suite for education. And I have to say that these things are not the same in Italy, in my country, because in many regions or places we have internet connections problems, and the population is paying the price for digital divide and social divide. So I teach in a very lucky school, I have to say.
but government have found resources so that schools are able to loan for free use laptop and other tools for needy families, for example. And this is one point. And yes, how did my methods change? I have to say that I talked with my students and I asked them whether they preferred video lessons, recorded video lesson or streaming video lessons. And we decided to use both of them. So I usually record video introduction for authors because I teach Italian literature and merge them in Google Classroom. And then we use Hangouts Meet to discuss or analyze text, for example. But changes have been necessary also for written tasks by choosing, for example, questions which require personal reinterpretation of what they learned. And talking about the final exams, we are supposed to do face-to-face final exams in June, but there won't be written tests.
Can I ask you a question? Like, how many hours of class do you do a week with your students online?
Yes, we are following our usual timetable. So I meet my students almost every day. And sometimes we use asynchronous lessons, but most of the time we use Hangouts Meet. So we keep in touch with them so that they can see each other and keep in touch with their friends. And this is a very important point, I think.
The one question Bridget also asked me,
can I add something to this?
Yes, please.
Just a second. I had, when it started, I used Zoom and that kind of stuff. I don't know what the noise is. Okay.
That's the horn from Netherlands.
That's my clock.
We got the bells, the horns, you know, dogs barking, babies crying. It's a crazy meeting tonight.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, and so I had planned to do all those things with the videos and everything, and half of them did not have a webcam because they were using the laptops that were given to them by the system, and they were very simple laptops without a webcam to avoid the safety problems and all that. So I had prepared the whole thing with videos because I was sure that they had webcams, and I was wrong. And I had to immediately adapt to the situation. And then the only way I could adapt to this, and that was it was actually, I think it's the class I will remember forever. I asked everybody to switch off the webcam, the cameras, and I did it voice only. Because otherwise, and then I had to be very creative because I was really stressed that day because of that. And it worked. And actually, they were more focused without the camera than with the camera. But I had to adapt my class totally because it was, but it was a challenge and it was good. Just to say.
This is a very interesting point.
Yeah.
So what I understand is we can actually record our voices and ask the students to listen to them when they go to sleep. Maybe learn that.
Yeah.
You know, they learn during their sleep.
You can give them assignments with your voice before.
Exactly.
And then you do. No, it's really very interesting. You should try it. It's good.
I think after this all ends, there is gonna be so many stories to write about or to tell about. It is crazy. We had with our teachers at our school. We had so many experiences, as you said, and they needed to be so very creative to be able to, because you know what happens during the lesson. They are all taking this lesson online, live, and one of them is messaging the group saying, "Teacher, this friend of mine is actually, you see him online, but he's playing video games right now."
Yeah.
You know,
That's it.
yeah. So, but this is, and there are some questions and comments that I'm going to. I am using time very efficiently, dear friends. I got Andrea and Astrid that I will still need to ask some questions to them. And then maybe for 10-15 minutes, Carl and Bridget are going through those messages very roughly. They can tell us, or if any of you guys want to add anything to the conversation, we would approximately spend about 15-20 minutes for that. So, Andrea,
Yes,
do you visit Stadtlohn?
Yes, I do.
You do.
4 times a
So
week.
the border is open.
The border is open sometimes, but I'm controlled.
Okay, that's awesome. So they give you cards to pass?
Yes, I have a commuter's card and I can pass.
Okay, so what's going on there? Could you tell us in Netherlands? We have sort of information, but I can say the distance between Stadtlohn and Winterswijk is about 15 kilometers.
It's a good
24, but
it's
almost
24 now. Okay, well, since
You're a good bike rider, Torvald.
yeah, I was gonna say I had to go that 24 kilometers on a bike. That was the.
It was nice, eh?
Yeah, I should tell you about that story at one time
Yeah.
we get together. Okay, so yes, please go ahead.
Now, in the Netherlands, it's almost the same like in Germany, but in Germany now you have to wear masks in buses, in schools, if you cross each other in supermarkets. And in the Netherlands still you don't have to. So lots of Germans who live in the frontier part
I know.
like to go shopping here because it's a little bit more freedom.
Free, okay. So
Yeah.
that's confusing though, right? Where am I? Germany, Holland?
Yes, that's
mask,
it. But
not mask.
That's always the thing.
Okay. So my question to you is, how did the teachers, I'm sorry, parents played a role in this pandemic? What did you see on parents' side?
That's a very good question. And I can tell a thing, we had 2 parents' days last week and the week before. Parents' days in Corona times, that's different. So you have to do it on telephone. We did it on telephone. They had to write an email to say, hello, I want to talk to you about my son, my daughter. And then I called them.
They had to reach you first?
Yeah. The thing is, we are very, very lucky, Tolga. We have an internal server and an internal system. And we were so lucky to start up this system in this school term. So we already had it. Wolfgang is laughing, that's it. Wolfgang, we are really happy with this. And we had the parent news channel open. We got every parent's email address so we could reach everybody, and we can reach everybody. And that's at the moment a very, very good thing. So we talked to the parents very privately, and what I heard from the others is the same with the parents. They need relation, they need emotion. What Carl writes on the Zoom group chat, we are going to talk about that later, I think, is the thing. It's more emotional what you get when you talk to individuals at the moment. No matter if the person is a pupil or a parent or a colleague. And the speeches or the telephone calls were much more longer than what I have when I have them in my office. Then it's 10 minutes, and so it was half an hour.
Right, right. The time gets longer.
Yes.
Or do you think that 10 minutes is the new 30 in pandemic?
No, the 10 minutes talks at school, they are almost too short, always. But the thing on the telephone, I think Wolfgang will say that too, is that people talk about themselves. They are very personal in their questions and in their answers, and they talk about themselves.
Yeah,
and about their problems.
I caught myself doing exactly that. You talk about yourself and you relate to the people in lockdown. And,
yeah.
So we actually shared some things we never did before with people.
That's it.
Well, we shared our living rooms, kitchens, yards, gardens. You know, the view from our window. That is really history. That's history.
It is. And it's very interesting for children when we have those video conferences with children. So they see my working place and I see their working place, and I can see the problems they have with the hardware. There are lots of problems, logical, but yeah. And we lose some children too. We heard that. We lose a lot of children in all of the countries. We in Stadlon are some lucky guys, I think. Till now, I lost one because she doesn't have WLAN, that's the Wi-Fi in Germany. And I always say, when they call it Wi-Fi, it functions, so it doesn't function. But yeah, you lose some children, and then you can do one thing. You can go one-to-one, you can call the children, you can pass by, you can try to reach them on a different medium. That's the thing. I think the relation is first, and then comes the stuff. That's the Dutch lesson I learned from my husband, Marleen.
That's a good lesson, I guess.
Yeah, that's the teacher's rule here.
What's that? Somebody was saying something.
I say it is. If you don't have a relation, you can't start teaching.
That's it. That's right. Yeah.
During the first days, we were contacting our students almost around the clock. And during the first days of March.
I still do.
Yes.
Okay.
On a schedule.
So thank you. I'm sorry. Please, Georgia, go ahead.
Yes. One important point for teachers, I think, it is given our students, our pupils, a sort of a daily routine as we used to have few months before. And this is an important point. And I think it is important also to guide them step by step to be able to keep in touch with their friends and expressing themselves and their fears and what they are afraid of during these hard times. I think this is very important.
So, can we say, like, teachers, students, parents who actually use this time for their own development and find out the best for themselves when they go back to school, the students, for example, the whole education in the future of their life is going to change. They will get maybe more disciplined. They will work harder. I mean, it's pretty much the same with regular or the old times teaching. You know, which student studies, gets good grades, get better notes, and has better relationship with peers or parents. So, but if they use the advantage of these times, they are definitely going to have maybe like 2 steps or 3 steps. They go further. Maybe we can say that. I want to go back to Magdeburg. Astrid is here with us, or did she leave? Oh, yeah, she's here.
Here I am.
Okay, I thought you fall asleep.
No. Don't worry, no.
What do you think is going to change in our lives, Astrid?
Well, it was absolutely interesting to me listening to all of you, because it seems like maybe in some schools, especially in the east of Germany, life is a bit different. At my school, we are about 70 teachers, and I think I'm one of the two aliens having tried online lessons. I have to confess.
That's interesting.
I have to confess, it has only been 3 lessons up to now, but I enjoy doing it. All right, and that's exactly what. Let me come back to what some of you said. There has been a rule that everyone should send assignments to the students, but some of us have wanted them to send their results back. Others have not. So this is what I'm really worried about when coming back to school, which will be soon. That means our 12th graders have started coming back 1.5 weeks ago. Our first exams start on Monday. So we have the A-level exams for 2 weeks. And on Monday, the 11th graders come back to school. And on Wednesday, the 10th graders. And from now to the 15th of June, that means within the next 14 days, schools are asked to get every student back for at least 1 lesson, which is hard work to be planned. I don't want to be a part of our direction to plan this, because we need to split them up into 2 groups so that there's always no more than 15 students or 12 students in a classroom. And yes, to come back to what should we do when students come back, I'm utterly worried about all those which I haven't managed to get in contact with. By no way, neither by phones, because maybe the telephone numbers, the mobile phone numbers they gave us don't exist anymore, I'm not sure. And as well, the new situation that some of them have been doing the assignments maybe all the time, others have not. And maybe some of them feel, parents have been reporting me that they are kind of, they don't know where to start with, and parents can't help them with mathematics, for example, or with physics. So the students are alone with these assignments, and even with the help of online platforms, they haven't managed to do this. So I would like all of us teachers, and as I see you belong to to the enthusiastic ones, which I like a lot, is that we need to focus on every individual's necessities when they come back, how to help them, that they don't feel like a failure or like victims of all this.
True.
That's great. Listening to all of you, it's how similar and how different all our situations are. It's amazing to me. Listen, the kids in lessons, live lessons, the teachers' studies on preparing these lessons, the managers' different problems. We are really facing through some interesting times. So let me see. 10 minutes. I have exceeded my time with 10 minutes, but as far as the meeting goes, I think we did a great job as always, guys, because we are the best team in Europe. I can tell you that.
You're here.
Okay, can I add a couple of small things?
Yes, please, Carl.
I wanted to make just an observation from listening to the media and listening to the impact homeschooling has had. I think it's the first time parents understand how difficult it is to be a teacher.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yes.
And certainly it's an opportunity to build that relationship between parents and teachers and learners. And the other thing I wanted to mention is I think it's really important that we throw the responsibility of learning on the learner. They have to learn how to learn, and how best to learn for themselves. The teachers are there as guides, but the responsibility should be put on the learner to learn. And for me, that's what online learning is all about. It's not about a teacher running around like a headless chicken, not knowing in which direction to turn and which pupil or student to deal with, because they try to teach in the same way they taught when they were sitting down face to face in a Victorian style classroom. I think teachers, this was a question on the YouTube. I think teachers have to be very careful. They have to consider what is the best way to serve the needs of the young people they're dealing with. And part of that is to try to encourage the young people to make the decisions about learning themselves so that they can become more self-sufficient in terms of learning. Now, I'm talking about high school students, but I think from the age of 11, most young people are mature enough to at least have a feeling about their own learning. And therefore, we don't encourage them to take their own initiative about learning. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned since we met last time is that as a teacher, I try to put things in too many boxes, and I don't give the learners the opportunity to express themselves. Because I tend to put a straitjacket on what I think they want and what I think they need. And many of the learners I've come across in the last 15 years actually are far more skillful in certain things than I will ever be. And I never gave them the opportunity to express themselves in the way that they can express themselves. And so I think that we need to give the learners a bit more freedom to express themselves. And we also need to try and give them more responsibility to take ownership of what they're learning. That for me are the two biggest lessons I've learned in the last 15 years.
Great.
We will also learn from them too, because as teachers, we are learners too. But you know, this is maybe for centuries, this has been the problem. The teachers always, you know, talk behind the students, and the students always talk behind the teachers. Maybe in the next 100 years, that's going to be the same. When you look at history, it just repeats itself. But the certain things, like this moment we are facing all over the world,
but things will never be the same again. That's a big change. Things will never be the same again. And that's why I started off the webinar by talking about this being a golden opportunity, really reflect on what we learn and what might be best. And that's why it's so important to talk about these things. So it's been a real pleasure to be here.
Can I just add something to make a bridge between Carl and Janja?
Yes, please.
Because in a sense, Janja was saying that they know the kids know everything about technologies, and some teachers are more reluctant, and those you have to help. And then Carl was saying that we don't give the floor to the kids often enough to allow them to express their talents. And I think that may be a good opportunity with all this online learning to be coached by the students, in a sense, when you don't know how to use a tool. I did it. It's very good because they are so happy to help. And then, okay, you pay them back with teaching them what you're supposed to teach. And it's a sort of collaboration.
Exactly,
and it's quite nice. It's just to bridge. So in a sense, it's a win-win.
What happened here is pretty much the same. Some of my teachers at school, they had hard time with getting online and stuff. So the students actually put up the meeting rooms and asked the teacher to join to the group. You know, I tell you, we are going to leave so many stories like this. But
I also think about this, about learning, and a question for everybody. Does anybody of you who have problems with any type of teaching, especially now with online teaching, is sitting in on classes of other teachers? to see and learn how they do. Maybe
let me, yeah,
are,
this is, can I add to your question?
who have a better technical background or more experience. Do you sit in on those classes to have a look and see how they do?
Can I add to this question, Rene? What happens here is, since March, mid-March, we are also close to, and we will not open the schools probably until September. What the Ministry of Education did is, like for the national exams and stuff, they are just going to include the first semester lessons. And for the rest of the school year, let's say from mid-March to mid-June, we do not teach new material a lot. Some of them, some new lessons are going to be taught. But the notes, the grades are going to be given from the first semester. So the students will pass their classes. And then if they have not enough grades for their class, they are going to take another exam next year. So this is going to, you know, we will face with this in the next couple of months. But hopefully the opinion is whatever we are not teaching them this year is somehow going to be completed in the following months. So this is one issue that we are going to deal with. Okay, anybody would add to Rene's question?
I'm not sure then if I asked the question correctly. What I wanted to say is if all you teachers sit in classes of other teachers to see and learn, because if you teach online to your group, another teacher could sit in the same class as well, just observing how his or her colleague is handling material, is using extra video material or text material to introduce that to the class. So basically, for the teachers, learn of each other. There are always teachers who are better in one thing or teachers better in another thing. And basically what we do here at school is that teachers sometimes sit in other classrooms just to see and watch how a colleague is doing and learn from that.
Yes, that's what we are going to do. We are going to have a meeting next Tuesday at our school. So I'm going to show to 15 of my colleagues how the bit which I have learned so far, so that they can also have a try.
Yep. Because we can teach each other. Obviously,
Yes,
the students who are technically, I'm always the idiot when it comes to Facebook, or if my computer breaks down, I don't know what to do. But obviously, we always have colleagues who are good at other stuff as well. So,
so there needs to be a teamwork between us too.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we did tonight, guys. You know, this was great. Well, I would like to. It's almost 10 o'clock here.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. You know what I mean?
You want me to tell you what time it is?
We'll never forget this discussion.
Yeah, today was a great day. It was one of those days in my life. And now I have another meeting with Jim, Jack, and Johnny. Maybe with one of them, or maybe all of them. So I would like to thank you all for joining this meeting. It was really great to see you all, and yeah, I have so many feelings right now. Yeah, it's lovely, wonderful. Thank you very much. I don't know what to say. Maybe we do this round next month.
Yes.
To see what's going on.
Good idea.
And how we came back from this pandemic. If you guys have time, or maybe some others who didn't join us this meeting, we would like to host them here too. Thank you very much. You all have a great evening, and I hope may the force be with you as teachers and all over Europe.
Tolga,
yes, please.
I would like to thank you for organizing this.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm flattered, guys. I'm flattered. Thank you very much.
I'm very emotional to have seen you all again. Really very emotional.
Yes.
Really nice. Enjoyed it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Me too.
Well, thank you, Orçun. He also helped us with this
Thank
meeting,
you, Arjun.
and he's been dealing with the messages back and forth, and that was great help from him too. I thank him, and I love you all, guys, and have a nice evening. See you really very soon. Take care. Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.